Hey, what is going on, guys? TalkNorwichCity here, back for another video. I hope you guys are doing really well. Today I'm back for my Player of the Season video. Now, I know there's still a lot of the season left to go, but the reason I'm doing this is because Norwich City have released their voting for the Player of the Season. Of course, this has been won by the likes of Huckabee. Holt won it 3 years in a row. Snodgrass won it. So, lots of prestigious players winning it, and I think it's going to be another competitive year for the Player of the Season, despite our position in the table and despite our sustained run of poor form. We've had a few players who've really stood out at times, and I've shortlisted 4 players that I think I can't vote for obviously all of them, but I'm going to try and pick a winner here. So, first of all is Johnny Howson. He's got goals and assists this season. He's been pretty much the most consistent player, I would say, throughout the whole of the season. He's been the key player recently to building the spine in the team that I've talked about so much and other people have talked about so much, being the reason we're starting to win games and we're starting to look like more of a team. Him and Gary O'Neill, who is actually another player I've picked in here on my shortlist, are the 2 players who've really solidified that midfield. And at times this season, when Johnny Howson was shifted out on the right-hand side, he didn't look as good. We didn't look as good as a team. But also, when Johnny Howson was out on the right-hand side, I'm thinking straight away, Bournemouth away. Howson was the only player who showed up that game. He was the only player who was still giving it his all. He was still giving it 110%, and he was still going in with them box-to-box tackles that we know him so well for. So I think Johnny Howson is the man who definitely deserves a place in your thoughts when you're voting for the Player of the Season. Couple of big goals as well. I'm thinking, I know it was a loss in the end, but the goal at Stoke, the goal against Aston Villa was a big one. You know, he scored some important goals this season, and of course he's been great in terms of creating assists as well. Second player on my shortlist, Gary O'Neill. Who would have thought that Gary O'Neill could possibly have a chance of winning the Player of the Season, the Barry Butler Trophy this year? But he's well in with a shout. I mean, he's been a warrior. You know, he's cut his head open. He ran back on. That was probably the iconic image of Gary O'Neill's season this year, but it sums him up as a player. He is willing to give 120% every single game. We know he's not the most technically gifted. We know he doesn't have age on his side, but that kind of brings the whole beauty of Gary O'Neill together. You know, it's just something about him that Norwich City fans can buy into and really love, and that's so brilliant about Gary O'Neill. So he's definitely in with a shout. I think the only reason that let him down is he let us down big time at Stoke earlier in the season. I don't think people realised just how big that red card was. It pretty much meant that we didn't get anything from that game, and it also screwed up that run of form, that horrible run of form that could possibly have cost us this season. So that was a big moment in Gary O'Neill's season, and for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. But he has returned back from that bigger, better and stronger, so that's always good to see. Now, another 2 players here, my final 2 in the shortlist. First of all is Robbie Brady. We brought him in. Lots of people saying, "God, 7 million too much." We know it isn't. You know, when you spend money, and luckily this season when we've spent money, it has transferred into quality on the pitch. You look at Naismith, you look at Klose, you look at Brady. Unlike what we've done before with, you know, Vadis and Ricky Van Wolfswinkel, it seems like our recruitment is getting better. Robbie Brady epitomises that recruitment. You know, we went in for him. No other teams are really in for him, but we identified him as he's still a Premier League player. We knew that Hull kind of needed the cash to stay afloat in the Championship. We got hold of him, and he's just been brilliant. He's given us that diversity, that versatility down that left-hand side that we've missed since like the Drury and Huckabee days, really. I mean, you know, we were shifted Lafferty out there last season and people like that. Brady's given us the option. He can play left back, which I quite like him in, others don't, but I think it works. Not as well as him at left wing, where he's been recently, and he's come up with goals, he's come up with assists, and his set pieces are just so valuable. We haven't had a good set piece taker since Robert Snodgrass left, so to have him in the team is just brilliant. I would have thought he would have scored more free kicks this season. I don't think he scored one at all. His free kicks are great. There's that famous video of him in pre-season just rifling one top corner from like 40 yards. I think that was in Austria pre-season. But his set pieces are so good. We saw it on Saturday with the ball whipped in for Timm Klose's header. So Robbie Brady's in there. And finally, Timm Klose. You know, I know we signed him in January, and I don't really think that January signing should be in with a shout. But I definitely wouldn't have anything against Timm Klose winning Player of the Season if he continues the form that he showed so far, and I'm so confident that he will. He's been the man that has changed our fortunes. He has been the man that has brought defensive solidity. Stats don't lie. 2 assists, 2 clean sheets in 3 games. He's brought leadership. He's big. He's strong. He's classy on the floor. He's a ball-playing defender, but he's so good in the air. He'll just stick his head in the way of anything. And he's brought like a bit of character. You know, the fist pumps, the celebration, everything about him. You know, he came in from day one, he set in stone that he is a bit of a character, you know, when he was like Norwich smells of football. This guy's a Champions League calibre player, and you can see it on and off the pitch. Just an absolutely class act, and it's good to see the money we invested in him coming back. You know, he's coming up with goals as well, he's big in the air. So, you know, he hasn't been here as long as Howson and O'Neill and Brady, but his impact is probably as big as theirs. So, in terms of impact, you know, I wouldn't have a go at you if you voted for him. But for me, my player of the season is Johnny Howson. I think he's everything that I want Norwich City players to be. He's good technically. He's got loads and loads of grit and determination. And he's just an absolute workhorse. He's the engine of this team. He's the one that keeps it ticking over. He orchestrates the play. He's good going forwards. He's good defensively. He mops things up and he moves things on. He's a proper central midfielder. And for me, he is my player of the season. So they're my 4 shortlisted ones. I would have thought they will dominate the voting this year. I wouldn't have thought you guys would be voting for anyone else. But if you do, please feel free to let me know. And also, let me know who you're voting for in your player of the season. So I'm now going to go cast my vote. I'm going to be voting for Johnny Howson. Please do let me know who you're voting for and if you agree with my 4 shortlisted players. So that is my player of the season shortlist and who I'm voting for. Please do feel free to subscribe to the channel for all the best Norwich City content, and you get to hear the voice of the fans. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.